thanks to you guys, because you guys were a big part of it, helping me cover these issues and kind of tag teaming this. It's really been this content of me going and doing these deep dives on Disney that's gotten me there. I wouldn't have done it without you guys' help on that. And also, when I want to bounce an idea off of somebody, like I'll send it. If it's financial, I can go off of Mike. If it's if it's about some inside industry rumors, I can bounce it off of Pro. And if I just want to have fun, I can bounce it off of Tom. I mean, that's just.
No,
I mean,
really,
if I'm
$5
mermaid
tip
strippers.
to Iger.
That's Tom.
I know
that's
a thing or two about cocaine and whores, okay? No. Like I said, I do my thing, but Pro, now that you're here, you can explain better why my quote that people keep tagging me in on Facebook
tumor
and
within
stuff.
A tumor.
The tumor within a tumor quote that I made. The basically removing Star Wars right now from Lucasfilm or Disney as a whole, Lucasfilm as Disney, both of them are the same kind of thing, removing a tumor from a tumor. And I said, you explain it so much better as to why they're so tied to Disney still. And it would be
I base who did the best on how many people remember it. So the fact that people are remembering what you said is an indicator to me that you did the best on it. But
you did the explanation as to why. Like, that's the thing.
Right. So here's how it works. When people think of Star Wars and the idea that you would sell Star Wars, it sounds like a single entity, but it's not. It's like an octopus with 100 tentacles all stretched out throughout the company. And so let's do two examples that are very easy. If you say, I'm going to sell Star Wars, I don't know what it means because Lucasfilm doesn't own Galaxy's Edge, which are the Star Wars lands. Those are owned by Disney Parks, and specifically by the parks which own them, which have them as their prime real estate. So you can't sell those. I guess you could flatten them as part of the agreement, but you can't sell them, and Disney's never going to put themselves in a situation where they are paying a licensing fee for something they just sold. Let's give another example, though.
Well, they could claw those out, right? That's one thing. I mean, these are all legal questions, but they could exempt those out. Obviously, that drops the valuation.
Well, and that's exactly right. So, okay, let's examine that for just a moment. So what happens if you claw that out? Well, what happens is that $4 billion that you paid for originally, that included the idea that you could do theme park expansion. So if that is clawed out, then whoever purchases Star Wars no longer has that opportunity, and thereby it diminishes the brand. And thereby, when you sell it for less than it was before, then that 10 to 30% that Mike was discussing on the stock drop, well, that's going to be really, really bad because you've just given an objective indicator to all of your stockholders that, yeah, we killed a franchise. What do you think we're doing with the rest? And then the problem there is, okay, so what's 10 to 30% of 170 billion, which is the total value of the company, I believe. Well, 10 to 30% of 170 billion is way more than they're going to sell Star Wars for. So why sell it if you're going to take that kind of a hit? But let's go back to the Disney Plus shows for just a moment so that people understand just how complicated this would be. And it doesn't have to be, except that Disney never anticipated selling Star Wars. So they've not designed it in such a way that you can sever it easily. You could sever ABC much easier. You could sever some of the Fox content much easier. But with the Disney Plus shows, for example, these shows have contracts that are written with all of these writers, with all of these actors, with all of these directors, etc. And they feature milestone accomplishment payments and all kinds of different tiers that are linked with how well the show does. And they receive payments based on the streaming content and the number of eyeballs that are on there. Well, what do you do if you're like George Lucas, which we know he's not going to buy it? Mike has said so. I've said so. Everybody has said so. But what do you do if you're not a streaming company? Like, do you have to leave it on Disney Plus because of the way the contracts are written? Or can you pull it off of there and can you move it on another streaming service? Do you get sued Scarlett Johansson style? Do you need an army of attorneys for every single one of these? Yes. And that's just the two expansion lands and the Disney Plus shows. That's like 2% of the entire Star Wars universe of items and series and content. You would need an army of attorneys. Actually, this might work out well for you. I don't know. Well, you would but you could work for the other side.
I did M&A. I mean, well, I would work for the other side. I work for the purchaser. I would 100% reach out to them and say, yeah, I'll work for you. I'll definitely help you out on that for sure.
So if 100%. You buy Star Wars, you not only have to pay enough that it outperforms the drop the stock will take, which is going to be substantial. So you've already got to pay that amount, or else there's no way the deal works. But you've also got to be able to pay tons and tons of legal fees to handle all of this giant mess just to rewrite the contracts.
Oh, sorry,
Right,
instinct,
exactly.
instinct.
So the money
yeah.
the money just begins to duplicate over and over and over. Whereas if you were to buy, let's say, the Muppets, it's drastically easier. Or if you were to buy
an element of that, right?
Not
You're
a
just taking
pillar
it
of the
and picking it
company.
up. Yeah,
Right, because as a pillar, they have put this in such a complicated manner that to sever it is, like Tom says, it's a tumor inside a tumor. Whereas I have said it's like 50 conjoined twins, and every one of them is connected together somehow.
Yeah, no, and I went over what you mentioned is just the tip of the iceberg for potential legal issues. Particularly, and this is the one rumor that I wanted to bounce off of here, and I addressed it in my video. But if it is true that a foreign oil tycoon, I think it was like the Saudi prince, if the Saudi prince was buying this and trying to build, let's say a theme park in Riyadh, this would become worlds more complicated. We're talking like Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Mike knows all about that. We're talking about like some serious examination and due diligence. This would take years to execute to try to sell it to a foreign political figure.
Well, I don't have any comment on that, but I do want to say, Mike, did you hang with me? Because I'm afraid I was boring. You were looking a little glazed over down there as I was getting into the Disney Plus shows. You still okay?
No, I'm good. I was just talking to the chat.
Oh, I got you. Good deal. Good deal.
He's a man of the people.
I use Mike's face as my barometer for how I'm doing. I can always look and go, okay, I'm all right.
Well, I mean, look, some people push back on me. Look, okay, so they can the executive team can go into closed session, Andrew, right? They can go into closed session and they could consider an offer.
Yes.
Right? Does it mean it's an SEC disclosure? No. Unless it's like a bona fide offer that's all worked out and they actually vote on it. But the way these things work,
it has to be a bona fide offer.
The way they work on an exec session is that they deal with all of the stuff, and then they just don't do that formality that because if they do it in closed session and they vote on it, well, then eventually it's going to become an SEC disclosure. So what they do is they middle this shit around in exec session, and they just don't take any kind of official action, and then it goes away unless it moves forward, and then it becomes an SEC disclosure. But most business that's handled by these companies is done in closed session, not in open board sessions.
Well, at least the Saudi prince, and I'm not really, I don't know the likelihood of that a Saudi prince would be interested in picking up Star Wars for whatever reason. I don't even know where you would put Star Wars, in terms of streaming or what you would do with it. But
like I said, I think
it
would be
more likely than George Lucas.
I think Saudi Arabia really looks like Tatooine. I think there's a lot of potential for a real Tatooine experience. You are actually going to have to survive in the desert.
Look, if any of us had $100 billion, if I had $100 billion, I'd make Bob an offer right now for $3 to $6 billion to take Star Wars off his hands. I would do it right now in a heartbeat.
I just heard Mike offer to do a Kickstarter. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Right here on the chat.
I'm just saying, like, is it possible someone out there with that kind of cash? Yeah, but who doesn't have that kind of cash right now? It ain't gonna be. It ain't gonna be no George Lucas. That's for sure.
No. I think we're all kind of in agreement on that. Pro, I showed your tweet, but I think that's pretty confirmable. It is not going to be George Lucas.
Like, it's a romantic notion, Andrew.
I think that's where it came from. I think it's the equivalent of like Star Wars copium. It's Star Wars copium. The people that still want to hold out hope and they want to keep the dream alive. Guys, just let it go. Like, That's what
I said on Sunday. I came out full throttle, guns ablazing. Pro, you heard me.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. Listen, I would love if it were true. The content that I would have for 6 months would be unbelievable.
It would be fantastic.
All right, I'm the number one fan of this actually coming true for reasons that are completely my own in terms of prosperity, but it's just simply not.
What do you guys think about breaking off ESPN as a component and selling ESPN? Good idea, bad idea? Some people have floated that as a potential thing. I say they've got it tied into the parks too with the wide world of sports. They could rebrand that, I'm sure, pretty easily.
That would be one of the easiest things to rebrand.
I would dump it.
You dump it?
I would dump it, even though it's generating. I've had this talk with Valiant. He and I disagree on this point because of
that's
how much
good. That's good. Ooh, drama. Let's start it. Let's do it.
Valiant Renegade. What's going to happen to me and him getting a fight? I won't
in the ring.
Live show.
Meeting in Georgia. That's the neutral
He'll be back
point.
on. Don't worry. He's still watching. There's no doubt.
No, I mean, I think he and I have talked about this and kind of disagreed a little bit because it does. He's right. Look, he's right about his facts. that it generates a ton of cash, highly profitable, yada yada yada. But if there was a way that I could generate a ton of cash, that would be the value proposition. Because look, what are you going to do? Go back and try to sell Fox? You spent 60, 70, God, what was it? 74 billion? I can't remember.
Talking about Fox?
Yeah, which has Fox, which has no value now.
Well, you know what's really funny about that? You're right on the money, 74 billion. But that's essentially what they're essentially valuing Hulu now at that same amount. That's what's so funny to me.
So I need something with big, and so what I would do is I would freeze the losses. Remember, we have losses are coming from two places right now. Disney Plus, that sinking asshole that's of $12 billion of a ditch that they've got money lost. There's $12 billion of money lost in that ditch. They've got all these studios, whether they're Pixar, whether they're Lucasfilm, whether they're whatever, Marvel. None of them are making money, let alone breaking even. So you gotta...
Hey, Mike, pause right there, because tomorrow morning we're bringing out a video on just how bad Pixar is. It literally may be the end of Pixar as we know it. Elemental, this just came out from Box Office Pro. The bottom number now for Elemental for its opening debut, $31 million.
Oh, fuck.
That would literally place
wait, did you say 31?
$31 million.
$31 million? I can make that selling churros in like a Tuesday night. Like, what the fuck is that?
They could make a remake of the Wuzzles, right? With the old South Park paper mache and do better. But that would put it at 40% audience numbers of Good Dinosaur. And Good Dinosaur was the most embarrassing thing Pixar ever had. So
I've never even heard of that.
Exactly.
Okay. Question here. So getting to these super chats. Hillis Mallory says, "Will Deadpool 3 come out under the Fox Studio banner?"
Well, Fox isn't even the studio anymore. It's 20th Century. They dropped the Fox part.
But yes,
as far as I know, it should. But then again, who knows? Because it's Marvel. It's hard to say.
And of course, you guys talked about it being pushed up now, rushing to get that out next summer.
And I believe it is being overseen by Marvel Studios, if I'm not mistaken. So,
you guys know why probably it was rushed up?
We did speculate on that, and my main reason
is it
I
money?
think because they don't have anything else. First of all, everything else is getting delayed, and it's probably farther along than everything else.
I think personally, and that's definitely part of it. I think they looked at the situation where they're going to go. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy will break even, right? Probably. But profit, that's more questionable. I think they were looking at the possibility that every single Marvel movie from this year to next year, all the way until the holiday season, was going to lose money or barely break even. And they could not let that PR disaster continue. They had to get Deadpool 3 out there to change the narrative.
Yeah. This video has been a clip of a previous live stream, and it's clipped so you can get the information in a shorter, compact package, the information you need. If you want the full video, the whole context, the whole thing, you can check out the full stream. That is in the link below. Check that out, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.